In 2017 in Long Island, New York, when 4 young men went missing, investigators feared the worst. And when they discovered their mutilated and dismembered bodies, it was truly a horrific scene. The family members were traumatized and they wanted justice. But police had no idea that one of the people responsible was a female gangbanger whose name was ringing all throughout the streets.
A unanimous guilty verdict on all counts. La Diablita, or the Little Devil, as she calls herself on social media, 22-year-old Lenise Escobar was standing trial for quadruple murder.
How did such a beautiful girl with an extremely high IQ and her whole life ahead of her get mixed up in the murders of 4 young men? Welcome to the crazy story of Lenise Escobar that shocked all of America and somehow even got the attention of former President Donald Trump.
She was a young girl who had a difficult life, not having a father, not having a mother, being abused physically, mentally. She was a very smart girl.
From the time she was a child, Lennox Escobar was in and out of foster care, and it is believed that she suffered abuse at the hands of her foster parents, which helped create the monster she later turned into. Once she reached her teens, she started receiving validation in the form of attention from guys, and it's during this time that she discovers she has a thing for the bad boys. She is extremely intelligent and does not have to work very hard to get good grades in school. She has the potential to be a doctor or lawyer if she wants to. But rather than use her natural-born intelligence for good, she starts partying a lot and starts dating sketchy guys. When she starts dating a member in the infamous MS-13 gang, her life truly starts taking a turn for the wars. In the past 10 years, this gang has been involved in some of the most gruesome crimes imaginable across the United States.
Miguel Alvarez
and wooded areas. That's right, hacked to death.
So as you can tell, this gang is nothing to play with. They bring violence and destruction everywhere they go. And this is when Lenise Escobar starts going by a new persona, La Diablita, the female devil. She desperately wants to go up the ranks and get the validation of her boyfriend's gang, so she is willing to do anything. So when her boyfriend leaves the house to sell illegal substances, she comes along and learns all about the criminal underworld in Long Island. Eventually, she starts selling illegal substances on her own and is bringing in large amounts of money for the gang and is loved by everyone. For Lenise Escobar, this is the family and love she never had growing up. And once she got a taste of the love, she wanted to keep pleasing the members. This was the family she had always wanted and was loyal to the core and willing to do anything for the gang. So on one particular day, when Lennox is bored and scrolling through Facebook, she comes across a photo of a group of kids throwing up MS-13 gang signs, and she does not recognize any of them. So she takes screenshots and sends them to her boyfriend to ask if he recognizes them. He does not, and takes it as disrespect that they are throwing up his gang signs without being official members. So they end up having a meeting, and one of the members calls out and says he thinks they might be members of the rival gang, 18th Street.
Police are looking into a deadly shooting at 18th and DeQuincy Street. This happened just after 12:30 this morning. Officers found a man in the street. That man died at the scene later.
For years, they have had a deadly back-and-forth rivalry that has tragically claimed the lives of countless young men. This is when Lenise comes up with a terrible idea to lure the young men to their death. So later that day, she goes back on Facebook and individually contacts each of the men. She asks them in a flirtatious way if they want to meet up to blow tree in the woods, and they all agree to come. Each of them are excited about hanging out with a pretty girl, so they let their guards down, and despite MS-13 thinking they might be involved in the rival 18th Street gang. None of the young men have any gang affiliations. In the photo, they were just young kids messing around, and they never thought they would have any ramifications for what they did. There are lots of people out there pretending to be gangsta.
Bro, I don't know why you guys be saying Walmart, Italy, Chupa, whatever that means top stuff, because, feel me, I be looking fire. I don't shop at Walmart. You don't get drip like me at Walmart.
For those playing gangsta dress-up, use this story as a cautionary tale of what can happen when people mistake your costume for real life. When the 5 friends arrive in the woods expecting a girl to come out and greet them, they are terrified when a group of MS-13 gang members pop out the woods wielding machetes and chase them and grip them up and tell them to get on one knee and kneel. This is when they start hacking the men with their machetes, and 4 out of the 5 men get slaughtered on the scene. One of the young men gets away and is making a run for it, while a bunch of men are chasing him with machetes, screaming, "Chop him up. If he slips or falls, he knows his life is over." Thankfully, he is able to get away and gets in contact with the police.
In the trial of a woman accused of luring 4 young men to their deaths, allegedly at the hands of MS-13, and the first witness, well, the sole survivor of that brutal attack.
Now that everyone was arrested and facing life in prison, they were facing a choice to either stay solid to the brotherhood of the gang or snitch. Once the reality of dying in prison set in and the fact one of the victims escaped and was going to be a star witness, a majority of the gang members started working out plea deals with the prosecutor in exchange for leniency in the trial. And this is when the sickening details about the case are exposed to the public. There was more than a dozen members involved, and Alexander Ruiz, the sole survivor, was determined to take the whole gang down and hold everyone responsible for killing his best friends and nearly taking his life.
Alexander Ruiz, the lone survivor of the attack, continued cross-examination inside federal court in Central Islip. Ruiz, who managed to escape by running for his life, told the jury members of MS-13 covered their faces with sweatshirts and ordered them to get down on the ground, threatening to kill anyone who moved.
Meanwhile, Lenys Escobar was trying to portray herself as a damsel in distress and a traumatized victim who had no idea what was going on, but the evidence was stacking up against her. Prosecutors found her bloody clothes that she tried discarding at the scene, and they found her cell phone that she tossed from a moving vehicle after the attack, full of stone-cold evidence. And the nail in the coffin was when she called her boyfriend, who was incarcerated, and discussed crucial evidence that was recorded on the jailhouse phones.
During the second phone call, Amador asks why one got away when all 5 were, quote, handed on a silver platter.
And the most sickening detail that came out was the fact that she was licking her lips with the victim's blood and laughing during the massacre. Being responsible for the death of more than 3 people and sadistically loving every second of it, does that not qualify you as a serial killer? The case was so crazy it got the attention of former President Donald Trump.
Then President Donald Trump came here to meet with the families, focusing on the government's battle with gangs.
Lenys Escobar's boyfriend makes a tough decision and turns on his girlfriend and becomes a witness for the prosecution in exchange for lenience. Lenys Escobar's walls were closing in on her, and it was only going to be a matter of time until she had to face justice for what she had done. Even though she was only 17 years old at the time of the crime, prosecutors decided to try her as an adult. In the trial of Lenys Escobar, prosecutors called 13 witnesses, and a lot of them were gang members. But the one that hurt the most was Kelly Gomez, who was Lenys Escobar's best friend, and she described how Lenys lured the young men so she could become a higher-ranking member in MS-13. Lenys Escobar was found guilty on all counts and is facing up to life in prison when they decide to sentence her. Her defense team is currently doing all they can to try and get her a new trial, so her murder conviction can be overturned. What happened was a complete tragedy. We lost the lives of 4 magnificent young men and countless other young adults to the system. Were the gang members truly monsters, or were they products of their environment and a system set up for them to lose?